3 days after her husband's funeral, Margaret Wilson opened an envelope she almost threw away. Inside was a notice from the bank. 3 words were highlighted in red: payment past due. Margaret stared at the paper. That couldn't be right. David paid everything, always had, for 42 years. Mortgage, insurance, utilities, investments, taxes, everything. She looked toward the empty chair beside the window. His coffee mug was still there. Half the neighborhood had attended the funeral. People hugged her. People brought casseroles. People told her not to worry. David took good care of you. That sentence had comforted her until the envelope arrived, because suddenly Margaret wasn't sure anyone knew the truth. By the end of the next 14 days, Margaret would discover hidden debts, missing accounts, a loan she never signed, and a financial secret her husband had protected for years. A secret that almost cost her the house. And she would ask herself one question over and over again. If the person you trusted most handled everything, what happens when they're gone? Every year, millions of spouses lose partners. Many discover something else disappears too. The person who knew where everything was, the passwords, the bills, the insurance policies, the retirement income, the invisible machinery of daily life. And when that machinery stops, silence becomes expensive. Margaret was about to find out exactly how expensive. Margaret was 71. David had been 74. Retired electrician, veteran, careful with money, never flashy, never reckless. Their daughter Emily lived in Denver. Their son Michael lived outside Dallas. Both believed their parents were financially comfortable. David always said the same thing:
"We're okay."
Those 2 words built an entire reality. Margaret walked into the bank the next morning. The young banker looked confused, then uncomfortable, then sympathetic. Not a good sequence.
"Mrs. Wilson,"
he said carefully,
"the account your bills were paid from was closed after your husband's death notification."
Margaret blinked.
Closed? What account?
The banker looked at her.
"You didn't know about the business account?"
Business account?
David retired 11 years ago. Why would he have a business account? The banker turned the screen. There it was, an account she had never heard of, and it had been paying almost everything. The mortgage, insurance, utilities, credit cards, everything. Balance remaining, $2,183. Margaret felt cold, because the mortgage payment due next week was almost $3,000. Emily flew in that evening. She expected paperwork, maybe stress, not fear. Margaret spread documents across the dining room table. Emily looked at the statements, then looked up.
"Mom, why is there still a mortgage?"
Silence. Margaret frowned.
We refinanced years ago.
Emily checked again. No, there was a balance, a large one. David had refinanced 6 years earlier, 30-year term. Margaret's signature appeared on the documents. She stared at it. That wasn't her signature, not even close. The room became very quiet. Michael joined on speakerphone. Nobody spoke for several seconds. Then Michael asked the question everyone was avoiding.
"Did Dad do this without telling Mom?"
Margaret defended him immediately. No. Too quickly, too confidently, because if the answer was yes, then 42 years suddenly felt unfamiliar. 2 days later, Michael arrived. The 3 of them searched the house, office drawers, file cabinets, closets. Nothing made sense. Then Emily found a storage box in the garage. Inside, tax returns, insurance papers, old investment statements, and one folder marked private. Michael opened it carefully. Inside were medical bills, years of them, cancer treatments, experimental medication, procedures insurance refused to cover. David had never told anyone how expensive his illness had become. He kept paying, borrowing, refinancing, moving money, protecting Margaret from the numbers. Margaret sat down slowly. David wasn't hiding money, he was hiding pain. The phone rang the next morning.
Mrs. Wilson?
Yes.
This is Stephen Parker from Heritage Resolution Services regarding your late husband's outstanding obligation.
Outstanding obligation. The phrase sounded rehearsed, professional, cold. Stephen explained the debt, a personal loan, $38,000. Margaret looked confused.
What loan?
Your husband was co-signer.
She nearly dropped the phone. Co-signer for who? The answer shocked everyone. David's younger brother, Robert. The brother nobody had spoken to in 8 years. The brother with gambling problems. The brother David promised had changed. The loan had defaulted. Now collection agencies were calling. David never told her, not once. That night, Michael was angry. Emily was heartbroken. Margaret was somewhere in between. Michael paced the kitchen.
He lied to you.
Margaret shook her head.
No, he protected me.
Michael stopped walking.
Mom, those aren't always the same thing.
Silence. The sentence hung in the room. Protection, secrecy, love, control. Where exactly was the line? Margaret wasn't sure anymore. Neither was anyone watching from home. Then came another surprise. David's financial advisor, Richard Hayes, polished suit, perfect smile, firm handshake. He reviewed their retirement accounts. Margaret listened carefully. Then Emily asked a simple question.
Why are these annuities locked until 2031?
Richard hesitated, only briefly, but long enough. David had moved a large portion of their retirement savings years earlier. The surrender penalties were enormous. Margaret looked confused.
Why would David do that?
Richard adjusted his glasses.
He wanted guaranteed income.
Emily looked at the paperwork. The commissions were staggering. Richard avoided eye contact. For the first time, Margaret wondered whether trust had become someone else's business model. 3 weeks after the funeral, Margaret found a handwritten note, folded inside David's Bible. The handwriting shook slightly, probably written near the end. It read,
Maggie, if you're reading this, I ran out of time. I wanted to fix everything before you found out. I thought I was protecting you. I'm sorry if I made you carry the fear anyway.
Margaret stopped reading. She couldn't. Not yet. Emily cried quietly beside her. Michael looked away. Some apologies arrived too late, but they still matter. The next 6 months weren't easy. The house was saved, the mortgage was restructured, the collection claim was negotiated, the advisor was replaced. Emily created a financial binder, passwords, accounts, insurance, beneficiaries, contacts, everything. Michael called every Sunday, not because of money, because absence changes priorities. Margaret learned online banking at 71. She learned how to read statements, how to ask questions, how to say, "Explain it to me again," and perhaps most importantly, she learned embarrassment is expensive, questions are free. 1 year later, Margaret sat beside the same window, same chair, same coffee mug, still there. Some things don't move after loss. Maybe they aren't supposed to. She looked at a folder labeled, "If something happens to me." Inside was everything. Organized, simple, visible. Emily smiled.
You became Dad.
Margaret smiled back.
No,
Then she looked toward the window.
I became his backup plan.
Love can protect. Love can sacrifice. Love can even hide pain. But love should never leave someone locked outside the financial life they helped build, because retirement isn't just about money. It's about continuity. It's about dignity. It's about making sure the person sitting in the empty chair tomorrow knows where the lights are switched on today. And maybe tonight, before another envelope arrives, someone watching this picks up a folder, starts a conversation, writes down a password, opens a drawer, asks a question, not because they're afraid, because they love someone enough to leave them prepared. And sometimes preparation is the final paycheck we leave behind.